What is up, YouTube? Today we have another 7 Nights Rebirth video, and I want to be talking about a character that you're definitely going to want to wishlist eventually and try to get at least one copy of, because this character is extremely broken for progressing through a lot of the harder stages of the game. So in the early game, this character won't be that efficient because you won't really need him, but in terms of like harder infinite tower stages and also for like nightmare pushing in adventure, you're going to definitely want this character because he's so good. So basically, this is my progression so far. As you guys all know at this point, I am not free to play. I have spent not too much, just like a bit compared to like other whales. But basically, you can see that in nightmare mode, I am at 7-29. And even though you're thinking, oh, aren't we just farming, 1-1 nightmare because we get the accessories? Yes, that is true, but you have to realize that in 1-1, you're only able to get the 4-star accessories at max. So you can see, if I can click, they can only get 4-star accessories, but later on you will be able to get 5-star and even 6-star by progressing, which I'll talk about in a separate video. So you will want to progress through the stages eventually. And the character that I found to really help with this, and I think a lot of the top players are already abusing this character, is going to be Mercure. Mercury? I'm gonna say Mercy. So this guy is an extremely powerful character. If you actually look at his statistics, you're going to see that he's used in Adventure number 1 and Arena number 2. So this character is extremely powerful in both progressing Adventure and also Arena. Now you're not going to actually use him as a farmer, but more as a character to progress through the harder stages. And the reason why he is so good is because his synergy with Magic Team is super good. So you'll see that he has this passive which gives him blessing, just makes him really tanky, and also this debuff that he applies on all the enemies is extremely powerful. You just reduce effect resist, so this makes it so that both in PvE and PvP you can land your debuffs more easily, not just from yourself but from everyone else. And then you'll see his biggest ability, Forbidden Experiments. So his main gimmick is this magic reflux. I know it's a lot of text, but basically he's going to apply this when you use your ultimate ability, and it pretty much acts as like a debuff or a target ability that makes it so that if you hit targets with this, they take extra damage equal to their max HP. Also, when you kill an enemy with this, it will spread. So this makes it so that your DPS characters that aren't even built on full damage and like are on debuff or like tank setups do a ton of damage. So in the higher stages, you're going to end up taking a ton of damage. So you're going to run a lot of supports on like block, and even your DPSs will need to be somewhat tanky or protected by your supports. So because of this, you're not going to have too much damage, and the HP of the monster scales up incredibly high. So this magic reflux just kind of mitigates that a lot. It's a really powerful debuff. Honestly, it's like giga OP in my opinion. He also decreases healing reduction, which makes him super strong in PvP, and just a really powerful ability. Now there is one caveat, and that is going to be you have to bring 3 magic heroes to actually inflict this magic reflux. And by magic heroes, it's going to be anything with this blue icon here. It's not going to work for like healers, right? You just need 3 of these blue staff icons on your team, otherwise it won't work. So really strong ability, and even though it's limited to the fact that you need 3 magic heroes, there's a lot of strong magic heroes. Honestly, it's probably the class with the strongest heroes in the game. So it doesn't really matter too much because you'll be able to fit in 3 pretty easily, right? You could fit him in with something like a Yunhee, right? So Yunhee's also a very good character. People pull for her for farming in Nightmare, but even for progressing Nightmare, she's really strong because she ignores defense. She has CC, she has damage mitigation, she gives everyone magic attack boost, right? She has like a huge nuke on her other ability, right? So super strong. So if you pair them together, you're already at 2. In the last spot, you can just bring in literally whatever you want. And what I mean by that is like anything with CC, right? Yushin is probably the most popular character because you have CC in this paralysis, which is very good on 2 skills. You could also bring something like a Vanessa because she also has a Petrify and also can increase skill cooldowns, also has piercing damage and is very tanky with her passive, and also applies defense reduction. So super strong in that comp as well. Rin is also good because she reduces the amount of damage you take with this confusion. Also good in the front line because she gets a barrier and also can revive, right? It's a lot of good options. Even a good one that most people will probably have eventually is Daisy. who is used for Ox King. Even though she's not that great for adventure, she's also not bad because at T2, she also gives your team a buff. Not a buff, but a shield every 2 abilities she uses. So you just need 2 dupes of her, which you'll need anyways for Ox King. So it makes it so that she can kind of basically support your team with your, the shield that she provides, while also giving you Petrify immunity, which is not the most important thing in adventure, but still will work in some stages. So you can see, even though he needs magic characters, it's really easy to slot in characters as long as you pull for them. Of course, you still have to pull for them, but the characters that you bring alongside him are all going to be top tier, is what I'm trying to say. And then he also has this stun. So like I always said, you're bringing CC characters. A lot of the times in the harder stages, you want to just CC the monsters because they just do too much damage. Well, he also has CC, so you can kind of see if you're like manualing or even autoing a lot of the times, your team will just perma CC the monsters in adventure, especially magic users. So because of this, he has CC as well and also a barrier. So it just makes it so that you can use a magic team that just like permanently CC stuff, which is really strong. And it just makes him an extremely, extremely powerful force to be reckoned with. And the best part about him is, even for adventure, he is one of the characters, even for PvP honestly, that works at 0 dupes. You don't really need any dupes into him. Of course, having dupes will make it so that, is it his passive? Yes. You'll see that he will actually, apply 3 more stacks of magic reflux, which is really good, but you don't really need it, to be honest, right? And even for skill enhances, even though it's nice for, just being more consistent, you don't really need to get any skill enhances into him either. Even though you eventually will want some skill enhances, he doesn't need it, is what I'm trying to say. So it just makes him a very powerful, low investment legendary character for just progressing through the game. And even though he might not be that effective in your first team, because usually everyone's first team is using Tio, Evan, and Yui, which are like physical characters, right? Tio does physical damage, doesn't, apply to Mercure's magic requirement. And also with Evan and Yui, they don't really do anything either besides, make your team tankier, and then Yui just buffs your physical damage dealers with her her healing melody with that physical damage boost. So if we actually look at my nightmare teams, you're gonna see that you'll need 2 teams. And the first team is usually the easier one because you're gonna have a lot of these characters built anyways, especially like your farmer, right? Tio is usually what you use, Evan and Yui, and then the other 3 slots are usually flex, right? You can bring whatever. For whatever stage I was progressing, I actually brought in 2 magic characters, which kind of goes to show how strong a lot of the magic characters are in this game, with Vanessa and Rin in this team for more CC. And the second team is usually the team that holds a lot of people back. So with this setup, you can use Mercure and then 2 mages, and then you use Lena as the healer if you have her. She's like probably the best healer for this setup. And then you have a flex spot that you can bring whatever immunity or like another support if you need it. So basically, he makes the second team end up being better very quickly if you just have this setup. Even though my Tio is T7, right? He does way less damage than the second team just because of this magic reflux, and this kills stuff super fast, which is why it's on my second team. So yeah, definitely a character you want to invest into and try to summon. Do I think he's like a higher priority than Tio and Yeonhee for the wish list at first, and like Biscuit? I don't really think so. I think you want to go for Tio and Yeonhee to whatever transcendence you want to be comfortably farming. Usually it's going to be Tio T2, which you can also get on his banner, and Yeonhee T2 as well. Or you can even run something like Klahan if you have him, right? If you pull for Klahan on his banner and have him T0, he works. But Yeonhee T2 is also good for the Mercure team. And then Biscuit is pretty much required for raids later on, so you definitely want to make sure you actually get her. She's just like the best PvE character in the game in my opinion. But after those 3, I think going for Mercure in this L+ wishlist category is very, very important because he pretty much ends up being a must-have for later PvE content. Now, if you're thinking, oh, how do I get the other magic users? Well, you can get a lot of them from the regular, legendaries, right? You can get Daisy, which you probably will already have for Ox King. You can also get Yushin. Pascal's like okay, but the thing is he's only single target, so he's not the best, but he's alright. But for good other options that you can eventually get, Yushin and Daisy are going to be okay, but you probably will swap out Daisy for another L+ legendary such as Rin, Vanessa, and then Yeonhee. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video because this character is just super OP. Honestly, like probably the best PvE character in the game. in terms of progressing, because he's just so strong at low skill investment, because skill enhances in this game are so limited. I actually have to put them all into my raid units, which is a lot more of a DPS check, but he doesn't really require any, and he's also super easy to build. You literally just slap him on full tank, and even if you're thinking like, oh, we're not utilizing the fact that this scales with his attack, doesn't really matter. It does so much damage anyways that you don't really need attack. You can just put him on full tank or full effect accuracy and just put him in the front line and you'll be good to go. So yeah, pretty much it for this video. Just wanted to let you guys know that this character is a character that all the high ranking and all like the leaderboard players in Adventure are currently abusing to get to these stages. So definitely don't fall behind and get this character as soon as you can, and it'll make it so that you can progress into the higher nightmare stages to farm for better accessories later on a lot more easier. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe to see more 7 Nights content. Also, check out my Discord server down below in the description box. The community is growing every day. They're all very, very kind and helpful. So if you guys need help with the game or just want someone to chat with, you guys can always join my Discord and you'll find someone there that is always going to be active and talking. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.